you're using three devices suddenly. You're like, oh crap, I only have two bays to charge, and yeah. But I also picked it up with like a chrome Lambo for like 40 bucks to my door off Classy's. So it was a pretty huge buy.
And is that it's the X Star some
WP6, I think it is, the six bay one. Then it's got the little screw in spacers, so you kind of have to set your channels to the battery length you're going to put in them.
Um,
See, I don't like that. I don't
Guys,
like that whole idea.
before we go live, 10 seconds. We need to have the phones on when we talk about the Bombshell Stinger. There were some
Hmm.
questions about it on ECF, and I said people could call in if they had questions. And we're ready to go live. You guys ready?
Yep.
Okay,
Let's do it.
let's go to silence. The use of electronic cigarettes should be restricted to those of legal smoking age. We neither endorse nor desire you to use nicotine. The information and opinions voiced on this show are accurate to the best of our knowledge as of this date. Welcome to Vapelink.
Hey guys, welcome to Vapelink, episode 8, titled RMS OMG. And today we are going to be talking about RJ Reynolds and a new lawsuit over some names of e-liquid. We're going to talk about Pluid e-liquid. I know, Basil, you had a opportunity to get your hands on some of that.
Got
Grim
it.
Green changes up his review style, at least for one review. Um, Educate your politicians. I have a funny little story about a political candidate who knocked on my door. Uh, we've got the ZMAX version 2 RMS. We have the LavaTube 2.0 RMS. Uh, Enjoy has hit the market with the Enjoy King. Is it a hit? We also have the Bombshell Stinger that we are going to be talking about. And if we have time, a few other little tidbits, some stuff that I got in today that would be interesting to talk about if we have time. So, guys, let's start off with RJ Reynolds. So, here's the deal RJ Reynolds, has decided to sue an e-cigarette company. Let's see, what is the name of that company? Any of you guys see it there?
It
Save a
was
Smoke.
Max Vapor Pro, SAS Technologies, saveasmoker.com.
SaveASmoker.com. So we know that there have been cease and desist orders in the past, but RJ Reynolds is actually has actually started a lawsuit against this company for naming their e-liquids similar to the RJ Reynolds brands. What do you guys think of that, Basil?
Well, I mean, I don't know what kind of revenue SAS Technologies or saveasmoker.com has, but for a company as big as RJ Reynolds, like what do they hope to get? I mean, so couldn't they have done this with just a standard like cease and desist, and then we'll really slap your wrist if you don't comply? I mean, what are they hoping to gain? I can't imagine that they've taken a big enough brand recognition hit to really try and pull out the big guns in court. I mean, what would even be a reasonable settlement if it went
Well,
to court
here's
and it went to a trial?
here's the thing. If somebody's infringing on your trademark, you have to you have to sue, you have to protect your trademark. If you don't, then it weakens your brand, right? So it weakens the ability to sue in the future. So I think that
Right.
they've already, or I don't know if it was R.J. Reynolds, Basil. Maybe you can clear that up. Either R.J. Reynolds or Philip Morris or some other
No, it was
people.
Philip Morris. So back almost 2 years ago, I suppose already. Alien Vision had a juice. I think it was called Morley, and it had a very similar to the Marlboro red and white kind of labeling. And that's actually now sold as C and D as kind of a play when they got their cease and desist letter. They then they didn't change the formulation or anything of the liquid. They just now call it C and D. And that was, I think, about 2 years ago. So that was just a standard run-of-the-mill cease and desist, which seems like it would have been a more appropriate response here from R.J. Reynolds.
I mean, I can agree with that, but having knowledge of trademark law, I do see where they're coming from, and I think that we all had to know that this was going to eventually happen, right?
Right.
Uh, People in the like vendors in the community need to stop naming their and I understand why they're doing it. They're doing it so that people who are trying to quit smoking know what e-liquid to buy for the brand that that they used to smoke. But we need to find some other way to do it. Maybe a color coded system or something like that. Uh, it's you cannot infringe on trademarks, even if
Yeah.
you're a small company and you don't make a lot of money off of it. You just can't do it. So I think it's
You would have
completely
thought
within their rights.
And you would have thought after the Alien Vision cease and desist, I mean, that did generate a bit of buzz just around the community. You would have thought that other vendors would have wised up to this. Now, I'm not familiar, like I said, with saveasmoker.com. In fact, I've never been to the website. Let me pull it up while we're talking here. But it just doesn't make it's not a sound business decision to name your product. And what they tried to do, I think initially one of their e-liquids was named Camel with two L's at the end, tobacco. I mean, that's just not smart. That's a really, really poor business move, and you would have thought that someone who was trying to have a reputable business would have known better. It just doesn't make any sense. Now, what they still have up here, according to this on the site, is, and actually I'm looking at it right now. If you go there and go to their e-liquid page, their tobacco flavors, it says USA Mix, and then in tiny little letters it says compares to Marlboro with the registered trademark symbol. Kam compares to Camel. Win compares to Winston, Can compares to Kent. So they still have this up here, and that's kind of a point of contention in the article. What's really interesting as well is that it sounds like R.J. Reynolds is really getting ready to start pushing their own brand of electronic cigarette, which is going to be
Yeah, I
marketed
mean
under the name Vuse VUSE, and they've started their own subsidiary, R.J. Reynolds Vapor Company, which is
that's
interesting to see what they come out with.
I think that's very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see if they gobble up another big player. The way that Lorillard, bought Blue, uh,
Yeah.
because I mean, frankly, uh, Vuse, Vuse, I don't even know how to say that. Vuse,
I imagine it's views.
Vuse,
I
Vuse.
would think
I,
views, yeah, but I don't know.
that has no brand recognition in the community in the
Right.
community, well, not even the community, like at large, like nobody knows what that is. It's like walking into a convenience store and you see a whole bunch of disposables, and which one are you going to pick? Something that you've heard of. And everywhere I go, people have heard of Blue. As a matter of fact, yesterday I was using, we'll talk about this later, the Enjoy King. I was using it at a concert, and somebody said, oh, I saw the one with the blue light on the end.
Yep.
And I was like, yeah, yeah, that's blue. It's blue sig. So, you know, I think that there is brand recognition for some of these e-cigarette companies out there, and to sort of come into the game now and start from scratch, RJ Reynolds is going to have a little bit of an uphill battle. They will have money, so they will be able
Yeah,
to.
but think about the kind of money they can throw into marketing. Like, do you think it's any coincidence that now Blue has TV commercials with Steven Dorff? Granted, nobody cares what Steven Dorff is doing or what he's endorsing. I really don't think. But did we ever see anything that mainstream from them and smattered across magazine ads with, I guess, a celebrity of sorts prior to Lorillard coming in? So I think that's going to be an interesting key in how some of this plays out whenever RJR, vapor company really starts selling a product on the market. Sounds like they're going to release more information about exactly what the product's going to be at some sort of investor function next week.
Well, I mean,
Yeah.
regarding the lawsuits, though, I mean, generally, by the time it gets to the point that they're suing, they've already sent out a cease and desist order. Um, so maybe the company they're suing just shirked at it, or maybe they're trying to
Possible.
prove a point.
That's true.
You know, because
That's true. I would have
because
thought
I've
that got
seen
captured.
the I've seen actual hard copies of cease and desist orders that have been sent to e-cig vendors. And listen, I want to apologize to the viewers tonight. My voice is off. I came down sick yet again. So if my voice is cracking, I apologize. It sounds horrible on this end. Um, if they are at the point where they're actually litigating, it's got to be some kind of gross. They have to have stepped over a line because the other companies that have I've seen get cease and desist orders for like variations on the name Newport or like even the Max Burrow thing
Yep.
was a bone of contention there for a while. Uh, you know, they basically got letters and they just the letter requested that they stop infringing on the trademark. And so every example I saw, people changed the name of their product and then the problem went away. So the fact that these guys are being sued is interesting to me. Did they
Yeah.
shirk when
When you think back to even to the Eclipse EQ, I think that was a Philip Morris cease and desist, and that's why they just shortened it to the EQ. If you think back to that piece of
yeah.
vaporware, I guess, for lack of a better term, but that was why because the I think it was Philip Morris was planning on releasing their own line, so it's coming, and we've all known it's coming. But I think it's just interesting that we're going straight to lawsuit here. I'd be really curious to find out if a true cease and desist was put out.
Yeah.
True.
Maybe we'll contact them, eh?
Could
Find
be.
out what the
Yeah, I'll
deal.
just give him a call. I got a guy on the inside.
Yeah. Just be like, hey, what's up? That lawsuit. I'm
Yeah,
sure that they'll
Just
love to
call up
talk about
Vinny. Call up Vinny. He'll take care of it. Get
it.
those guys over there. You're gonna go on Vapelink, or two guys with a lead pipe are gonna show up.
uh, so do we want to move it
So
along?
Yeah.
let's move along. Basil, me and you, I actually had the Pluid in my cart, and I was like, should I not? We were gonna split,
Yeah, we're gonna split some.
and we were gonna split some, and then we talked about it, and by the time I went to hit buy, it was sold out, and you even, I think, for a while, you were trying to get on there, right? And try
Yeah,
and
I
get
spent
some.
nearly a half an hour trying, and every time I would get to the page, pick a bottle and a milligram strength and hit buy, and it would not actually go into my cart. It would just bring me to a page that said you don't have anything in your cart. I tried it in three different web browsers, in Opera, in IE, and in Chrome. And it was IE 10, so it's not like we're kicking it old school with IE 6 or anything. And it didn't work. It just flat out wouldn't. I could not get it into my cart. So I don't know what the deal was. The site was just getting slammed. It kind of felt like I was at a Woot Off. I mean, it's really what it felt like. I was there at a Woot Off trying to get a bag of crap, and it just. I mean, I don't know. I did end up getting a bottle sent to me. Wongster360 from Twitter got a hold of me on Facebook and actually sent me a bottle, and it arrived on Saturday. It's
Nice.
interesting stuff. It's really interesting stuff. It
Looks like
is it
it's like plutonium sort of suspended in PG.
yeah, I mean, like you would expect this to be what an amber juice looks like because Nick likes green so much. I mean, you would think. I mean, it is literally it. Technically, it's Mad Murdoch's radiator Pluid. So I think that's the joke here is that it's supposed to look like antifreeze, and the taste ranges anywhere depending on like how saturated your wick is while you're vaping it, from straight up NyQuil to black licorice to a handful of jelly beans, kind of a, sort of citrusy candy with, maybe you got a black jelly bean in your handful. It's an interesting, it's an interesting liquid. Do I think this is something I would run out and purchase regularly? No, probably not, especially not with the hassle. But I think the other question too is, I mean, I've heard a lot of talk that it has to be stored in a glass bottle. Does that worry you guys at all, knowing that you shouldn't be putting this in plastic because it's going to start eating away at the plastic?
That's why we didn't order it right away, because I was gonna, I have a whole bunch of empty e-liquid bottles, and I was gonna, half and half it and send some to you. But I don't have anything made of glass here, so there
Right,
was no way that I was gonna be able to send it to you without getting it all over the mailman's hands. So actually, that worried me, right?
right.
And I decided not to get it. On top of that, the food coloring that's in it. I don't know about this food coloring stuff that everybody talks about. Like, we can't have food coloring. You guys have talked about it before. You guys do the do-it-yourself stuff, and you're more into that. I just kind of buy e-liquid, right? I would never have thought of food coloring. I wouldn't even have thought of the fact that it was gonna eat through plastic. It would have ended up just happening to me. So, I think that, thank you for letting me know that, because I have a little plastic
Yeah,
bottle
and
that I e-liquid
it's
in.
interesting. It sounds like there's mixed feelings about it in plastic. So Ross, Junkie Rock here in chat said he's got some that's been in plastic, and it's been there for over 5 weeks. But I've seen some pictures around on Facebook just of people having it in there, you know, just in a plastic bottle and it reacting, or in a tank and it reacting with the tank and getting funky. So I don't know, that it does worry me a little bit, but it it's an okay juice. I mean, I can see this being a very polarizing kind of thing. People are gonna love it or they're gonna hate it. And some people may just be vaping it for the novelty, which is kind of what I feel like I'm doing right now.
Are you vaping? You're vaping it right now?
Yeah, I have it set up in my iHybrid here, knowing that I should be in good shape because it has the Pyrex glass tank on aluminum.
So,
So yeah,
one of the little things that I said we may or may not talk about, and we'll talk about it real quick right now, since we're talking about vessels that hold e-liquid. I actually got this. I got this in the mail today. It's called the U-Can, and it's stainless steel. It's for your e-liquid. It's actually pretty cool. I know some people on Facebook were asking me about this, and it's got this little, spout on it, and you push the end, and it, little drops come out. So I mean, if you have a problem now, I would have been able to split it with you because I got this. I don't know how well this thing's gonna work. I've had it for about 2 hours, but it's an interesting thing that I never thought I would need or want, and now I have it and I'll use it. We'll see. So anyway,
interesting.
yeah. Do we have somebody on the line?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, we have a caller in line. Let me bring him in. 662 area code. Welcome to Vapelink. Say hello to the crew.
What's going on, guys? I swear one day you're going to get my area, so just 662 is
I'm
always
not
changing.
exactly hearing. It sounds like a man in a tin can.
Can you guys hear me?
Just barely. Go ahead, sir.
Oh. This is Jamie. I wanted to make a comment about the Pluid. See,
No, I got
I
nobody.
had a 30 ml
No,
bottle of it.
I got nobody
here
there.
when they ran that Jennifer West Cancer Fund thing over at ECF. And I got it in, and my
Knock,
experience
knock.
with it was, I felt like I was vaping NyQuil. It just really wasn't for me.
Yeah,
So
Maybe it was a
so
sensitivity
we'll
So
wait for
wait
them to
or
figure
issue
that
or
out.
what.
But
But
I
that
think
was the
one
cut
one of the most
version, right?
frustrating things is,
I
why
think
is
you
it
guys
this
had
hard
the
to
full
get this? Now,
flavor, and I
I
tried the
get that
full flavor
310 Vapors,
Vaporon, and
who's
I
retailing this,
noticed
at
I
least
put
that's
it in
who
a
had it
deep
up for
sea,
sale the other day,
tank, and
isn't
it pretty
mixing
quickly
the
ate through it.
liquid
Well,
themselves.
I
But why
had been
is
playing with the
it so hard to
AC9
get
for a
this?
couple of weeks,
Hey, can you
Why
think
is
of
it so
any other
hard?
e-liquids that are this hard to get?
I don't know what the material is called.
I
It's
can't. I've
some
never
sort of
heard of that before in my
PMMA, I
life.
think is what it's called.
And you know what the
Um,
funny thing is that I didn't even want it until you were like, I've been trying to get on this site and I can't. And
Right.
it went on sale an hour ago, and I'm like, oh, something rare, something hard to get. Let me try and buy it. And it was just like, seriously, e-liquid being hard to get. I mean, like, I've been mixed up in that whole like trying to get onto the website, the Rio website, in order to
Right.
get the Rio Woodville, the Rio Grande variable voltage, and for something like that, I understand it, right? But for something like
Sure.
e-liquid, so here's the thing: what if somebody really liked that e-liquid, and they wanted to vape it daily? So they got to stock up like crazy every time that it's available and it's impossible to get. I mean, it just doesn't
The
sit well.
only the only other
can you guys hear me by
liquid that
chance?
I can say has had that
I was
kind of
wondering
problem to get
if
that
you
I
could,
can
because I
even
was.
think of and name
Can you guys hear
is the
me?
RY4 from Backwoods Brew. And that the problem was one of the flavorings that Don was using uh, was incredibly hard to source. He like the vendors, the flavoring vendor he was getting it from just could not supply him with enough, and he actually discontinued it. Like it's not out on the site anymore. You can't buy it. So that's the only other one that I can think of that has that kind of problem. So I
Guys,
don't
Hmm.
know.
if you'll bear
I
with me
think
for just a moment.
I, I heard Jamie.
Okay, just tell me, just real quick, a little technical thing. Do you hear that?
I hear that.
Okay, let's see if we can get the caller in. Hello and welcome
Jamie,
to Vapelink. Welcome to the show. Go ahead,
Hey,
Jamie.
sorry, but we must have had a bad connection. Can you guys hear me now?
I can hear
I
you
don't
now.
hear him.
Good. I was saying
Basil,
about
Basil can
the
hear him.
You've got nothing?
I I
Okay,
I
keep
can't
going. I'll
no.
work on the tech. Sorry about that, guys. Go for it.
It's okay. So anyway, Basil, what does this stuff
Yes.
take? I heard licorice. You said jelly beans. You said citrusy stuff.
Yeah, I
Well,
mean
here's
it
another. Should something that
depending
I mean,
on, so I've only been running it in a Genesis in the iHybrid. That's the only place I put it, and it's varying levels of flavor. If you get the wick really saturated, sometimes it comes off as tasting straight up like NyQuil. Sometimes it's more like a really strong black licorice, and sometimes you get a bit of a fruit kind of undertone. Yeah, definitely. There's definitely anise in it, and you pretty much always get that. Um, Sometimes you get a little bit of a sort of fruity flavor mixed with a little bit of anise. So it's interesting stuff.
Hello.
I don't dislike it. I'm not married to it. Like I probably, especially being how hard it is to get, wouldn't go out of my way to buy anymore.
guys, I can hear him. Basil, can you hear him?
No.
Guys, just keep going. I'll let you know when the sound is fixed. Okay?
Okay. So interestingly enough, there is another vendor who is coming out with a liquid that is pretty much a replica of Pluid, but is not green. So it's not for sale yet, I don't believe. But Amy from Vapelicious has a liquid she is going to be selling called Coil Cooler. That is supposed to be essentially the same flavor with out the coloring. Would you be more interested in that, knowing that it's uncolored?
I would, because you know what? I've been using this peach e-liquid, and as you can see, it's clear. And I actually like the idea of a clear e-liquid. Um, I don't know what it is. Maybe I feel like it's not going to gunk up my atomizer as much, But that may be just because I've heard that a clear liquid is not going to gunk up your atomizer. So I don't know. Just clear e-liquid is kind of what I'm going to be going for. And I know that's not always possible, but it's just my personal opinion at this moment, based on what people have said. Um, I don't know.
Yeah,
What's the
I mean,
deal with food
I could go
coloring?
either way. A juice like ectoplasma, I mean, I really enjoy it. I like to vape it. Um, there's some that maybe seem to be less colored than others, such as Pink Spot from Pink Spot is pretty pink, but I don't think that they're artificially coloring it. I could be wrong. A juice that I got actually at VaporCon is something that Twig made. It's his own DIY, and it's fairly pink. It's a watermelon cherry snow cone flavor, and it's quite tasty. He's got it mixed at about 50-50, and it's pretty pink. Oddly enough, it was bright fluorescent pink when I poured it from the bottle, and after sitting here in this tank for about 36 hours, it's nearly clear, which is interesting. This was like fluorescent pink when I poured it in.
Hmm. That is
So that's
interesting.
something I've never seen. That you generally don't see a juice get lighter in color. I
Normally
did
see
ask
it dark.
him when I opened the bottle. I said, that's pretty pink. Did you color it?" And he said no. So that's all I got to go on.
Well, that
So do we do
that
we got
begs
do
the
we got
the
juices?
question, doesn't it? When you start talking about the coloring of juices, um, I think it's entirely possible that we're set to go. I think we have a caller on the line. May I bring them in?
Yeah, let's give it a shot.
Great. Area code 502. You're now on Vapelink. Hello.
Hey, what's going on, guys? How you doing tonight?
Oh, I can hear it. Who's this? Welcome.
This is Cody.
Hey, Cody.
What's
Cody,
up,
how's it
dude?
going? Cody,
Hey, how
are
you
you
guys
on my
doing?
Facebook?
Yeah, you met me at VaporCon. I was with Matt.
Yes.
What is on your
So
mind,
what's
good
I'm with
sir?
Matt Olmsted. I was with E-Sig Advanced.
yes. So what's
All
up,
right.
brother?
Well, not too much, man. Not too much. I'm really just calling to kind of, make comments on the Pluid and kind of, the juice coloration thing.
Have you tried
Um,
Pluid?
oh yeah, I've been buying Pluid since he was selling it strictly out of the forum thread.
Okay.
And as somebody who vapes it nearly every day, this past time I wasn't able to get on a pre-order or order any, and it's becoming really, really difficult to acquire it if you don't want to pay out the butt for it.
Right.
So what do you mean?
Uh,
So does it go up on the classies?
some people will. I mean, with their new, 20% now markup that you can do, people are marking up 20%. It's an expensive juice anyway, but with it
It
being
is.
marked up
Yeah, it is a bit spendy.
even more, makes it even more difficult for somebody who vapes it on a regular basis, hard to get.
I think what's interesting about it as well is that it is a bit on the expensive side, especially for something that you really can only purchase in two nick levels, 10 or 20. So then you're left to try and purchase one of each and mix down really to where you want it if you're somewhere in the middle. So if you vape, 18, I'm usually at 18. Now, could I handle 20? Yes. This stuff that was sent to me is in 10 milligram, but I don't know. It just seems like for something that it's kind of really aimed for you to mix out to the nick ratio that you want. If you're not at 20 and you're not at 10, it seems like kind of a kick down in manland, you know?
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Basil. I mean, I was vaping 12 milligram to 18 milligram some days, and since Pluid came out, it's just so much easier to just put it in a tank, and let it fly at 20 milligram. And I like it so much. I even bought the Pluid version of the iHybrid that came out, the very limited quantities of that. And
It's a
now
sharp
I'm
looking
breaking my
mod.
heart that I have to
Definitely
put
is.
something different in it other than Pluid.
Wait, there's a Pluid version of the iHybrid?
Yeah,
They're
so
What's
literally
going
it's
on?
green and it has like a little guy in a like radioactive looking gas mask, and then it says "Got Pluid" is engraved across the top cap. So it's like bright green, pretty much the exact same green as Pluid. Actually, it's a little bit brighter than this. This is an iHybrid tank sleeve. I think it's just a touch brighter than this one, and then it's just got some cool engravings on it. It was a limited run deal. He's done a few kind of one-off limited runs that are just anodized and engraved.
Hmm.
Wow. We
There's
do have
also
another
a special edition fluid drip tips that came out as well.
Pluid drip tips. Wow, this is something it's totally lost on me, the Pluid craze.
I mean, yeah. What is going on? I do not get this at all. I mean, I feel like I need to buy some and taste it. I don't even like licorice, so I mean,
And there's
Tell you what,
I,
I'll send you some of this that I've got. I'll fill my tank up once more maybe, and then I'll send you the rest of this if you want to try it since.
yeah. You know what? Just use it until you have like 2 mils left. I'm not gonna vape that stuff. Like for
Sure.
that long. I'm gonna test it in a Phoenix tank or something just to taste it.
yeah,
No,
you,
no, 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 no. Do not put it in a Phoenix tank.
no, no.
Anything with polycarbonate, it's going to eat right through it and cause etching and even cracking.
Do you want to
Put it
breathe
in a
that?
DB Nova.
The Phoenix
I mean,
rebuildable. I misspoke. Sorry.
okay, I'm sorry. I apologize. The rebuildable
No,
will
no,
probably
no.
be fine.
So
Yeah.
there's
So,
another. We do have another caller, just so you guys know. So, but Cody can stay on the line if you'd like.
Yeah, that's fine.
It's just Jamie, man. You guys don't have to give me any special attention.
Okay,
what's up,
talk to you
Jamie?
later, Jamie. What's up, Cody?
No, hey, I did want to say one thing about the Pluid. You got to think, I did a review on the AC9, and I thought that tank was supposed to be invincible. And from everything I had read, that PMMA, I think, is the acronym for the tank that the AC9 has. For a material that they say was invincible, even through my review, I said, all the menthol juices and stuff I've used, and it's no issue. And I had a guy send me a picture of an AC9 tank it literally looked like it had a blowtorch took to it from what the radiator fluid done to it. So, I'm kind of the opinion the craze is nothing more than if it's hard to get, people want it. If you want to go vape some NyQuil, that's what vaping radiator fluid is. It tastes, to me, that's just me, it tastes like you're vaping straight NyQuil. But it's kind of like the unicorn, mythical creature, impossible to find, hard to catch, and that's all Pluid is. The craze is because it's hard to get. And if it can do that to PMMA, I'm scared to know what it would do to my lungs. So, I bought 30 mils of it. I made 3 drops of it in a DCA 306, and I was done. I actually gave it away to a guy I met at VaporCon who wanted to try it. I got home and mailed him the bottle. So, I'm definitely out on it. For me, it was hard to get. I wanted to get it, and that was it.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I
it's kind of
guess
that Nintendo marketing model. You say something's really cool or really good, and you sell it in limited quantities, and it's always sold out. That's what I
That's
liken it
right.
to.
It's a unicorn. That's all. Just like a Hellfire Mini or Mega, it's a unicorn. It's no better than the $20 Chud or Chinese dud that I'm using on my Pravari right now. My Hellfire Mini doesn't vape any better than this $20 did does. Did does, I guess.
Well,
But it's hard to get, so
I'm
everybody's got to have one.
I'm kind of interested, Cody. Do you find the taste of this Pluid to be compelling?
Yes. Excuse me. Yeah, I can completely vouch that I really do like the liquid. To me, it's similar to the little black jelly bellies and the licorice, how it kind of makes your tongue go numb and, it surrounds your mouth. But you also have this level beneath that of like some sort of fruit, and I get a guava kind of taste, and then I get this slight like spearmint taste at the end.
Yep. Now this juice is apparently eating tanks. Does that concern you at all?
To me, not really, since most of my rebuildables are all fused quartz or glass anyway.
But
Right.
what about on
But it's still going into your lungs.
Yeah.
lungs?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
This would be a good thing to do. Actually, we should probably get Chemist Kurt back on in the next couple of weeks, or I'll ask him and find out. We can follow up on it. Is what reaction causes the polycarbonate to break down?
We should probably get some
That
of
would
it
be,
to him so he
Yeah,
can test it out.
yeah,
yeah,
I
rather
agree.
than sending it to you, since I could send it to Kurt.
Yeah,
Yeah,
let's
do
do
that.
that.
Wasn't there
Because
also some juices recently, like banana or citrus, or there's a couple other flavors that were also breaking down polycarbonate tanks as well, though.
Right, right. Yeah, I think my curiosity about it and look, and nobody's going to say that vaping is better than not vaping is better than not vaping. We say that, from a harm reduction standpoint, vaping is safer than cigarettes. That's the mantra that anybody who vapes uses. So if it's breaking down a polycarbonate tank, maybe we should dredge that information up so that people who are using it can make an informed choice. I like informed choices. That's
yeah,
a
and you know
But
what? I do think
I
that there's a difference between a liquid like cinnamon causing some cracks in a tank, right? Because that's all I've heard, right?
Right.
So there's a difference between causing some cracks in a tank and actually melting the tank.
Right. This PMMA stuff that they used on the AC9, it doesn't crack. Cinnamon doesn't do anything to it. Citruses doesn't do anything. Menthol doesn't affect it. This isn't polycarbonate. This is some sort of plastic material that's well beyond the strength of just polycarbonate. And the fluid melts this stuff, and this is well beyond. And this is supposed to be an indestructible plastic. So this is well beyond the phases of polycarbonate. There's something in Pluid that's dangerous. That's my opinion, just my opinion.
Well,
But
be
this
careful.
stuff
Be
right
careful.
here,
Be careful with the. I know it's opinion, but be careful with the word dangerous, because just because you don't know doesn't necessarily mean it's dangerous. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns here, right? So, I
Yeah.
mean,
for
I'm only
sure.
questioning Cody, and I'm doing so in good faith, not because I'm putting him on the spot, and I hope he doesn't feel that way. But I think there's issues when you actually see something tearing something else apart. Basil, what do you think about this? You're usually pretty level-headed about these things.
I mean, I think if you like it and it keeps you from smoking, it's probably worth pursuing, if you're willing to put up with the headache to get it. So I'm really curious to see if Coil Cooler is more or less the same flavor profile without the coloring, because knowing Amy's going to be able to keep it in stock or she wouldn't be selling it. So, I mean, that may be a better outlet for some people, and that means that something's going to have to give with Pluid. It's either going to need to be easier to get, or the price is going to have to come down, or some combination of both if there's something that's just as good that people can gravitate towards. So
Yeah.
I don't know. That's kind of where I weigh in on it. I mean, it's a nifty juice. It's not. I mean, I like it. Like I've pretty much been vaping it since it showed up in my mailbox on Saturday, and I don't feel any negative side effects. But it's not like you're probably going to be able to tell after 48 hours of vaping if something's harmful or not. You know?
Yeah. Well, it'll be interesting. We'll send some over to Kurt if he's willing to take it, and we'll hear back from him, and then we'll follow up on this in the future. So, Jamie, Cody, thanks for calling in. Appreciate it.
yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah, I
And
appreciate the
I
call,
think
guys.
that
Yep, you're
we
welcome.
ready to move on, guys.
Yeah, I'm going to let him go, and then we'll move on to our next topic. Let us get into it for a little bit before you call in, but we will
Hey, can
take
you
more
just
calls.
mute me? Can you just mute me so I can keep listening on the phone?
Yes, sir. No problem.
Thank you.
So, let's hit this real quick. We all know Grim Green, right? Uh, I mean,
Who's
I
Grim
started
Green?
vaping. Oh, it's that dude with the green
He's
logo.
the guy with all the YouTube money.
Right, right.
No, but
That's why he can
seriously.
have a juice company that doesn't sell juice, because it's all
Oh,
YouTube money.
I would love to get some juice from him, man. I mean, I have a couple bottles that I'm just like saving for a rainy day because I know I won't be able to get them till I don't even know when. But so we all know him. I mean, we hung out with him at VaporCon. Good guy. But I think it was like yesterday. There was an odd change in his video style, right? Now, hey, I mean, if it was anybody else, this wouldn't be news, right? but
Right.
it's grim. My opinion is that Nick Grim Green is like a face of vaping for our community. So you know, we were talking about it earlier. I watched it. Basil, I know you watched it. Kaz, did you see it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, I mean, what did you think?
Hmm.
I thought it was a joke at first.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't sure because you know what the greatest thing about his videos is, and you know if you guys haven't checked out his videos, you need to because he's got some great videos. But he has such a personality. He's such a likable person on camera.
Yeah.
I mean, I just can't imagine anybody disliking him. And this was void of any personality, and it was very like infomercially. And I know I was looking at his comments and people were like back and forth on it. And I think that there's like some diehard grim, army people out there who were like, yeah, like thumbs up. But I was like, no, I want to see him actually re-review that because I have an SL and I love the SL. And I actually did a video with him talking about the pre-production version of the SL,
Right, right,
which
right.
is not out. Yeah, it's not out yet, but it's gonna come out eventually, hopefully. Oh, I
No,
think.
there was some heated discussion over on the Basil Ray Navy page on Facebook. That doesn't actually exist. That was just a joke. Um, but I think sometimes Nick gets away with things that we can't get away with for a couple of reasons. One, just guy's got off the charts charisma. Not to say that we don't have some sort of charisma ourselves, but just there's something about him that he really is an everyman. Like when you think
Yeah.
about it, he's like the dude that you want to hang out with, and you see him, and he's kind of got the look that's like the hip, like I'm so hip, I'm not even trying to be hip, and I'm hip and cool look, and like just very down to earth, like guy next door, just says what he thinks, and I think that affords him the ability to do things that like I can't do. Some of his videos, you look at him, and I think just the things that he is able to do and the people he's able to reach are things that I just can't
Yeah.
because of
Well,
that. There's just something about him that is that way.
Well, I mean, I watched it, and I've met Nick, and I like him. I don't know him terribly well. I think he and I have a generation gap, so we don't connect on a lot of different levels. But he, I gotta say this, and say it in friendship to Nick. Don't ever do that again. No, I hope he doesn't do him like that because I watch his reviews because he's a nice guy and I like watching him. And I kept about halfway through the review, one word came into my head, and it was like, "Gee, if this was sped up a little bit, it could be ShamWow." I mean, it was, and
It
I
would
don't
be
know, maybe
interesting to
he's.
see if Nick, has ever been beat up by hookers, but that's a different show. It's a different episode entirely.
But it's okay. I have to say this because as a reviewer, I changed formats about the same time that we started doing uh, this show, and I didn't know how it was going to go, so I'm using two cameras. So there's a camera to show the item and a camera to show me. And I got mixed feedback from that as well because some people were like, "Oh, we just liked it when it was you and the camera." So Nick, if you're watching, don't take it too personally because we're just giving you a poke.
yeah. You know what I think. I think it is. He said something about like just wanting to change it up. You know, reviewer fatigue, right? You do the same thing every week. He puts out a video every week. I believe it's like on Mondays or Tuesdays or something like that, or he records it over the weekend. And when you're doing the same thing over and over and over again, uh, sometimes maybe you want to change it up a little bit, and that's not always a good thing. Sometimes it doesn't work. My feeling on this video is that it just didn't have that like grim greenness, that personality. It was monotone, and I don't think that it does the device justice. because I think that the device for me, and this is going to be very controversial because people don't like this company, but I like the SL. And I think that it's a great device. I brought it with me to VaporCon. People were asking me what it was. I didn't even realize that it wasn't out yet. Um, and it was the pre-production one that I had done the video with Nick on. And I just like the device, and I think that it should be something that you should be a little bit excited about. And it just came off monotone and infomercially is something that people said. Um, Nick, I'm with Kaz. Please, no. I want to see you, man. You are your videos, brother. It's not the color green. You are your videos, and you are freaking awesome. So,
Don't
boom.
do that again.
Maybe he just had to get a video out and cut it short because he was busy planning his proposal to Amber. That's probably what it is. We should just blow it off.
Oh,
congratulations, Nick and
yeah,
Amber.
absolutely.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
congrats. Like he's gonna watch this. He's grim green, you guys.
Yeah. He's not
Jeez.
going to watch it. He
We
doesn't
could
even answer
say-
my Skypes. He's not
He'll
even on
never-
my Skype.
So anyway, Grim Green, he is a great educator, reviewer on YouTube. Speaking of education, right? Let's move on to the next topic.
Yeah.
I had an interesting interaction with a political candidate, right? So imagine somebody knocks on my door. I open it up. I don't know who this guy is, and he tells me, hi, my name's so and so. I'm running for for something in the state, right? And gives me this little spiel, and I'm like, oh my god! I'm like, you actually knocked on my door, unlike other politicians who send, their minions out to kind of canvass the area. So, he gave me his little spiel, and then he, went away, and we said, oh, we're voting for you. And then I was like thinking about it, and I was like, I wonder if he knows anything about e-cigarettes.
What did Mitt
So,
Romney say?
What's that?
What did Mitt Romney say when you asked him?
He said,
Mitt came to your house? Wow.
No, it wasn't Mitt Romney. But so I actually went out there with my Stinger and a tank. And I also brought my E-Mini because I wanted to show him that there's two different styles and not to be afraid of something like this, and that the majority of people use something that looks like this, right? So I went out, and he was still like knocking on doors, and some people were turning him away. They didn't want to talk to anybody. So I caught him, and I said, hey, have you ever heard of electronic cigarettes? And he was like, I don't know. What is this? I maybe I did, maybe I didn't. And I started explaining it to him. And he was like, no, I have no idea what this is. And I was explaining to him, I was showing him the Bombshell Stinger and the tank, and I was explaining to him how it worked, and that I smoked for 15 years, pack a day, and then I quit. I was the type of person who was never going to quit. And, then I explained to him that it's not just stuff like this. This is like something big. There's also the Cigalite e-cigarettes that, kind of look like a little, stick batteries. And, he was really interested in it. And I explained to him that some states are trying to ban these things and, that they don't know anything about it. So they're just like, okay, fine, we'll vote for it. We'll throw it in that bill and, we'll package it up. It's a tobacco product and we're not going to do anything as far as research. And I even explained to him that like pharmaceutical companies are kind of against it because it competes with things like Chantix. And I explained that big tobacco is moving into this space and that we also have associations that are, behind us, kind of, trying to battle all of these, all this bad press coming from big pharma. And, he was like, that's because politicians are following the money. And I said, exactly. He said, I'll tell you what, send me a bunch of information. He said, here's my card. You have my email now. Send me a bunch of links, and we'll kind of discuss it. And I still have to get some stuff together for him. He's obviously not going to look at it today or tomorrow anyway, because
Probably not.
and
Probably got a
we'll
couple
wait.
things on his mind.
Yeah, we'll wait and see if he wins before I go through that.
So, I mean,
But
how do you feel? How do you feel about that? I mean, do you think that you felt like you actually made a change, or
I
could you
feel like
potentially make a change?
I feel like I could potentially make a change. He said, "Get me the information, and I will spread it to my fellow politicians, and we'll make sure that this option is still available for people who want to quit smoking."
Now, the question
And
comes up is, do you believe him? And do you think he cares? And the reason that I bring this up is that I see legislation come across my email box on a constant basis.
yes,
And the politicians themselves, in my experience, and please understand, I don't get involved in the activism area of CASA, and I'm not speaking for CASA. But when I look at all of the legislation and the stuff that goes by, and how much information gets sent to these guys that doesn't even seem to make a dent. I mean, you look at just the Utah situation with the legislation in Utah that caused all the problems, and we didn't do very well being able to resolve that situation. I mean, do you really feel like you made it? Do you really feel like you made a difference? And I'm not jumping on you. It's just,
well,
God, I'm so calloused by it that if I ran into a politician, I'd walk the other direction. I'm not necessarily sure I even want to talk to him.
I'll be honest with you. Um, what I told him when he first came to the door was I interrupted him while he was doing his spiel, and I said, you don't have to worry about it. I said both me and my girlfriend, we vote straight one party, right? I said, so you're going to get our vote. So there was no like question in his mind that he's going to get my vote. That's what we do. We vote straight one party. And like either party, I go by who I want for president, and then I vote all that side. So I am an independent, but we're not going to get into politics like that.
Oh,
you
come
know,
on. No, it's not.
so
Ross Perot, sorry.
so he already knows the way that I vote. I interrupted him, and I told him to spend his time on other people, right? And then, of course, I went outside 5 minutes later and took up 15 minutes of his time. He seemed receptive to it. I don't know. They are
And
politicians.
think about this time of year how valuable that 15 minutes probably was for him.
It
That's
was
saying
probably,
something, I think, because
It's
obviously
possible.
he's got other vested interests to be trying to hammer down. When you're
especially
on the election cycle, come on. That's 15
ex-
minutes is a big chunk of time when you're knocking door to door.
It's possible.
50, 15 minutes is at least three people, you know? So I don't know. But my point is, something went off in my head at that moment, which was, wow, we are not educating these politicians before they decide that they want to ban electronic cigarettes. So, what I'm saying to everybody out there is whoever gets elected, send them an email, start a dialogue, right? Let's hit it before we're on the defense. Let's try and educate these people because I do think that somewhere deep down inside they do care. I mean, we do vote for them. So they do care what we think a little bit, maybe. I don't know. But let's give it a shot, right? Let's at least give it a shot. You know? So,
Yeah, no, I mean it makes total sense. I mean it really does. It's just the next logical progression in how can we get people on our side?
Yeah.
Because
Maybe
those are the people that are getting put in office that are gonna, restrict or free you accordingly.
maybe I've just danced around the maypole a couple of times too many because I What you're saying sense seems logical. What you're saying sense makes sense. See what I did there? Um, what you're talking about doing is noble and right and good and wonderful and based on my firsthand. I mean, I've handled legal matters having to do with internet intellectual property rights in Washington, D.C., where I've actually sat in law firms on Pennsylvania Avenue, consulted to attorneys regarding this kind of stuff, and actually talked to the politicians. And and this is just my take, but until it becomes a special interest, they just aren't listening because they're playing for blocks of votes. They're and they don't and until they see Basil, he's got atomizers flying all over the place. Until they see people who vape as a block of votes, I don't know. And I'm informed by this because I saw something like this go on in the late 90s where a not-for-profit organization decided they were going to try to go out and they were going to educate law enforcement. And they got nothing.
Yeah.
They got absolutely nothing. And I I don't know. I mean, what this is what I would say. It's worth trying. Anything's worth trying. But, if you get 6, 8, 10 attempts down the road and you just can't get any traction.
Well, what about this? What about this? They do sometimes listen to us when we're on the defense, right?
Um I think and again, guys, be completely aware that when I'm speaking on this show, I am not speaking for CASA, even though I'm associated with them as a board member. It's my personal view that they react when they think there's an organization involved, sometimes.
Then let's get the organizations involved in education before they try and ban them.
It's
Like,
it's a it's a possibility,
why
and
not? Why,
and
why, why always be reactionary?
um, and as a whole, the community is reactionary because we haven't been able to sell. I don't think we've been able to self-fund the kind of funding that's needed to go and be proactive. You know, and with the rate that the legislation comes up, at least for CASA, with the staff that we have and the amount of money that we have, and again, I'm not speaking for CASA, but now you're putting me in a position where I have to speak for CASA a little bit, just to inform the issue that at least from the view inside of CASA, I see CASA not being able to catch its breath long enough to be able to put something out like that unless a bunch of people in the community step up as members and decide to foster something like this and put in the time. Uh,
All
and,
right.
and
Well,
and and let me go even further and make all kinds of mistakes here. There are some people that are part of CASA that literally are putting in 8 and 10 hour days strictly on CASA business. There's no pay involved. And these are people that have families and kids and other jobs, and they're spending all this time playing defense. And we have many members who have stepped forward uh, to help, who are just members and aren't, you know, involved in being in board issues and things like that. I think that I think we'd need to double the amount of people uh,
okay, but
and heavily
here's
involved.
here's another thought. Okay, so CASA has the reactionary defensive thing down, and they're doing it. But there's tons of other organizations. Well, not tons, but there's a bunch of other organizations out there. You know, they could do it. We could do it. We could get a list of everybody's emails or and addresses or something like that. Post them on the forum. One person could do that. Maybe I'll do that. I don't know.
Go,
There's got to be
Mike.
some database of it. Post it on the forum and say, who's your rep? Email them. These are the people you should email. Email them. And just say, here's some links to some studies. Here's like real quick. Like you need to make it short though. Like some of
Yeah.
these real long
Yeah.
emails that are like copy and paste emails. No, no, just a paragraph. Hey, I smoked for this long and I quit using this. I tried using other stuff. It didn't work. Please don't ban this. Here's some links. Get some information. Check out these reviews. Check out these shows.
Lucid is pointing out in chat.
I
He
was going to
says,
say that as well.
yeah, forget about it on the federal level unless you have those millions of dollars or millions of votes. And that was the thing that I was pointing out previously. Getting access federally is almost impossible. And then keeping track of now remember the legislative levels that are here. Keeping track of the local, the county, the state levels of legislation is an insane amount of work. It's not a one person job. It's a one. It might be a one department job, depending how big the department is. But in some states, with the rate that they put out legislation, I mean on everything, okay, you could literally have one person per state, and that person couldn't cover the state. I mean, Illinois. I forget how many counties we have, but I think it's like 150 different
Yeah,
counties.
I, Cause I feel like it's becoming it's like more than my vision is what we're talking about. My vision is just people who live in state X email these three or four or five people or something like that. I mean, we are millions of voters. We are a $500 million industry. We are millions of votes. We're just spread out across the country, and you know, maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. Maybe I mean I think it's worth it for that one person that changes their view or has a view, actually has a view, as opposed to not having a view and not caring. You know, to
Yeah,
let
I think ultimately the problem is going to be how do you organize that? I mean, that's always the problem because just one guy doing it
Yeah.
here sometimes and not doing it there other times. I mean, that's where it all falls apart. That's where any movement's going to fall apart. That's, you look at some of the big movements we've seen, the whole, Occupy Wall Street. There was no clear, this is really what we're trying to do. It was just a bunch of people getting together to complain, and it can't be seen as that. In order for it to be a legitimate, I think,
Yeah.
exercise in civics, it's got to have some level of organization with an actual, here's the message, here's the cause, here's what we're doing, here's what we want to partner with you to do. I mean, that's just my take on it. Is that I think it's going to be really tough to just say, oh yeah, if you got a chance, send somebody an email. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, it's an idea.
No one's saying it's a bad idea either. I wish the world were I wish the world were as simple as I thought it was when I was much younger. Uh, you get a little bit
You know,
this is just my cynicism coming out, but after the games that I've seen in business and the games that I've seen in politics and actually having been on the Hill, I don't I don't like or trust any of these guys. Somebody said something. I was listening to a talk show on the radio because when I'm going back and forth between here and Michigan, it's about 4 hours. I don't have anything to do, and I grab a bunch of AM stations along the way that have interesting programming. And there was one guy who said, he says, to the point where by the time you get to the point where you're in national politics, you're president, you're senator, you're an appointee, or something like that. You you're you're so beat up by the process of having to be a politician and doing the glad handing and whatever that your view has become so twisted because of your surroundings and the lenses that you have to view things through that these people are essentially reduced to sociopaths because it's all about I want this block of voters, I want this block of voters. And this doesn't say anything about one party or the other or a third party. It's not making it, it judges them all equally. It's, on one side it's all on one side it's all women's rights and gun control and this, and then on the other side it's all we want to have guns and no gays and this or something like that. I know I'm glossing over a whole bunch of stuff there, and I'm not trying to get into those issues or pull them apart, but that's what it comes down to. They're doing the math of voting blocks, and that happens on the
Yeah.
local level too, which
You
is,
have to cater to your base. I mean, that's all that that is.
yeah, yeah, and but I'll tell you, Mike, maybe you could take that idea and hammer it out a little bit more and find a way to actually be effective. I mean, I know I would support something like that. I might donate some time to
So,
something like that,
as a segue, perhaps one of the easiest things you could do is always have one of these around to just give to someone.
and that would
The
be the
Enjoy King.
yeah.
Joy King. I
So
love.
I, since you'd been talking these up for a while, you were talking about them before they were available. You had the teardown video. I finally, by accident, Saturday night found these. I actually Friday night drove around to a few places and looked to see if I could buy these because I see the standard, yellow and green Enjoys around all the time. But I happened to stop and grab something to drink before a night out at the bar, and they had the display case up, and they had these. So I picked up a couple. I picked up the gold and the bold, which the difference is nicotine level here. And I actually let me open up. So it comes in this fancy little case, which is all sealed up and wrapped up. So let me just pull this out of the package, brand new, and just show you. I mean, this is a really surprising experience. So it comes in, it's got this fancy little flip top plastic case, and it has a little pamphlet of information. You can buy more, what have you, but it's ready to go. So you pull it out. The Bold looks like an actual little cigarette. It lights up. It's got the soft rubber tube, so the whole thing just kind of feels. I mean, this is the most accurate, like in your hand, feels like a cigarette kind of little disposable pen style that I've seen. But just right out of the box, it just works. And the flavor is actually one of the probably better tobacco vapes that I've tried.
Yeah. So,
Um,
so
I mean,
Now, is
great,
it making
great
massive
tobacco vapor.
vapor or is that your lighting?
A little bit of both. I
Okay.
mean, it does. I mean, considering no primer puffs, just out of the box, tiny little crappy, what maybe 180 milliamp hour battery at best. It works really, really well. The only downside to this, really, especially as a way to turn somebody on, is that this one little, disposable battery is $8.
Oh
That's
my.
literally, as far as I can tell, the only downside. And this is the kind of thing where for a night out at the bar, I would probably just have one of these on me because I like it. It feels right. It's very inconspicuous and it just vapes really well.
What's the threading on it? Is it
there's no threading.
There is
no?
none.
It's a one
It's
piece.
all just it's one plastic tube and it's a pretty soft plastic. I mean, you can actually, bend it and crush the butt just like you would on a real cigarette. Um, so it just the feel is right, the taste is right, the the performance is great. I mean, just all those like key indicators that you used to get when you were smoking. It's warm.
So does it does it
It
does
gives you
it
the
kick
kick.
like does it kick like 48 milligram? Is that the 48 milligram model that you have there?
Yeah, 45, I think. It says it's 4.5% nicotine by volume. And yeah, I mean, it does. I mean, maybe do you get that crushing throat hit that you're going to get from a juice at, 20 watts or 15 watts?
Right.
No. But just a couple of puffs here, and I mean, I can definitely feel the nicotine rush because it's pretty high. So that might be cause for concern with the bold. You maybe wouldn't want to have the bold and just hand that to somebody unless they're a big time smoker. The gold is probably a better choice. I think that's in the what is it, Mike? 30, 32
30.
on the gold, 30 on the
30.
gold.
Yeah.
The
But you know
lifespan
what,
on these, I
Dave?
mean, they say 2 packs. It's not going to be 2 packs worth. You're going to get maybe a full 35 minutes of vape time out of it, but it works well. This is a great way to turn somebody on to vaping.
So I actually have a slightly different point of view, Basil. Um, so I went to a concert last night. Good buddy of mine went with me. Lived across the street from me my whole life. We used to smoke cigarettes together. right? So like even if we weren't hanging out, we'd call each other up and be like, "You want to go grab a smoke?" So I quit, and he didn't. And I tried giving him electronic cigarettes before, and it didn't catch. So when I went to 7-Eleven last night to buy more of these, because I mean I've gone through four, and this is my fifth, and I have four more to go. I like it. um, I bought one of the light or the gold. I bought an extra one
Cool.
for him, and I gave it to him. And you know what? He puffed on it a couple times. He once he saw it, he was like, "Now I want one." And I said, "Well, good thing I bought you one." And I handed it to him. He pulled it out, four puffs, put it away. And then we were in the concert, and I asked them if I could use it, and they said it was fine. And I noticed he wasn't using it, and I was like, dude, I was like, take out your e-cig. You can't go outside and vape, or I mean,
Right.
you can't go outside and smoke. So hit it up in here. And he was like, eh. So I got him
Hmm.
to try it again, and he said, you know what? It feels like I'm inhaling air and exhaling, you know, something that looks like smoke, but it feels like air. And right away I was like, I should have got you the bold. I was like, the bold would have really hit you. And he was like, oh, well, maybe I'll give it a shot. Maybe I'll go pick one up. And he's not gonna go pick one up, but
So, do you think that that would make the difference though? I
yeah,
mean,
I
it's
would go.
obviously not going to be as warm as hot box in a real cigarette, just taking a huge drag. But you think that that nicotine difference for him would have sold it?
Yeah, I mean, the first one that I used was the gold, and I thought, really, 30 milligrams? Oh, it doesn't really, it's not hitting me. And
Yeah.
so then I opened up a bold, and I was like, whoa! I was like, that's it. And I really could only take 8 to 10 hits off of it before I had to stop.
And I've been sitting here vaping pretty hard, and I took three or four off of the bold, and it's like too much. Like I gotta kind of slow it down for a minute. The gold I thought was just the balance was right, and actually was driving in a car and handed it to my girlfriend, who still will smoke when she's drinking occasionally, and she's got a friend that still smokes, and they both tried it and said, "Wow, that's pretty good." And for either of them to have looked at it suddenly like a viable option because they get annoyed seeing me tinker around and my office. Oh God, it's embarrassing. It's such a mess because I've got vape stuff everywhere. I mean, I can see maybe a quarter of my desk space. And after I came back from VaporCon, I've got all this juice sitting here, and it's a nightmare. So they see that, and I think that in some ways is a turnoff to them. But I mean, they both looked at this and said, "Wow, that's pretty good."
Yeah.
The performance is right. So I think it depends, probably how much you smoke. I mean, they're casual smoker, weekend smokers, if you will. But if your buddy is a daily habitual smoker, smoking half a pack plus a day, then maybe that would have made the difference.
Yeah, I think that I'm gonna go ahead and buy a couple of the bold and hand them out. I gave a bold to my boss, and I want to see if she uses it and see what she thinks. Um, but I mean, I also think that there's a difference between. I gave a light to my girlfriend's brother-in-law, and he doesn't really smoke, but he wanted to try vaping. Like he smokes a cigarette every now and again, so we were drinking and playing games, playing board games, and he wanted to try one, so I gave him the light. And what I noticed with everybody who I've given one to is they don't know how to vape. They still expect to do this, right? And they're like, and then they start taking longer inhales, and then they'll get it. But I also feel like I have to coach them a little bit because vaping is different, right? There's no
Yeah,
two
it
ways.
is.
So I think that that's another exactly. Long, slow draws in the chat.
I
Um,
wonder. I wonder if we have been vaping for so long now, the three of us, that we've lost touch with what smokers think.
Yeah, I mean, between the three of us, I mean, not to toot our own horns here, you're talking, what, about 9 years of vaping experience?
Yeah.
I mean, I think you get a little bit jaded. And,
See now, and
I
here's
ended up
here's the thing.
turning so
You
many people onto it that it's different for everybody.
you guys, what was I think Mike in our dev chat coming up on this show said everybody get the Enjoy King. So I went over to it was a CVS or a Walgreens, and they had it, and I looked at it, and I looked at it, and I said, I'm not spending the money. And what I did is I bought 2 packs of Cardos on the way home from Michigan. So I'm a bad man, but I looked at it and I said, uh, maybe it's because of the experience that I had with the original e-cigarettes that we all started with, the 510 stick batteries, that whole kind of thing. I just and the Enjoy, because I owned an Enjoy N Pro, and
Mhm.
that thing was like vaping the Sahara. Um,
I will tell you, I've never seen a disposable or even just a basic starter kit that you pick up and vapes as well as this without any tinkering, anything. I mean, just I think that Enjoy, for all the crap we give them, for all the crappy products they've put out, the only real knock on this is that I think $8 for what you get out of it is
Ridiculous.
it's high. Yeah, it's really high.
it
If this
is.
were like 350, $4, game on. I think game on, especially in places where, smoking is here. And I happened to look at this the other day because I was standing in line when I bought these. A pack of Camels is about, I think, about 575 in Minnesota, right around there. So you start getting out into East Coast or, some of the more populated, real true big cities. Minneapolis isn't one of those. And, cigarette prices are much higher. So if this were in tune where, two or three of these would be about the price of a pack of cigarettes, I think you got something.
Yeah.
Or this model somehow becomes a slightly bigger battery life, better battery life, or just rechargeable. If they could
Right.
make this rechargeable standard cardomizers, I think that they're in there. I mean, I think it's huge.
Right.
You know what's funny is that I went into the local Wawa. So some of you may or may not know what Wawa is, but it's a convenience store. They also sell gas. So I went in and they advertise on the window that they sell Enjoy, and I was looking for the King because I wanted to add, another one to another store to the list of places where I could buy it. Because right now it's only a 7-Eleven down the street from me. And I talked to one of the guys that worked there, and he was like, "Oh yeah," he said, "We don't. I don't know when we're gonna get in. They had the Enjoy one. They said they hardly sell. That their cigarettes are priced well, so nobody buys the disposable electronic cigarettes." And he said maybe at gas stations and stuff like that where cigarettes are expensive, or in other states where cigarettes are expensive, they might sell better. He said, but we hardly sell them at all. So I'll tell you what, at the 7-Eleven that I bought them at, uh, I had been going in 3 times a week trying to find them. So the guy knew me. And so, anyway, basically, I bought 6 packs. They were the only 6 packs bought between last Thursday and Sunday. And then I went in and I bought 6 more packs. And I'm interested to see if next week they're the only 6 that were sold, or the only 12 that were sold. Um, so, contrast to like New York, where people were saying that they were selling out and they couldn't get any more. Um, I don't know. It's interesting. I'll be interested to see what happens with it. I need a 3 pack at the same price. Boom. End of story.
Yeah.
Let's move on. I want to hit this real quick because we teased it a couple weeks ago, and we didn't really get into it because we didn't have time. Uh, RMS. We talked about this first show. So how long ago is that? 2 months ago,
Two
Yeah.
right?
months now, yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy to think that it was 2 months ago. So we opened our show with that, and Vapors have a voice. Everybody was up in arms about this. And I have the new Z-Max, and I am happy to say that it's very close to being spot on, even in two battery configuration. I tested it real quick. I didn't go through all sorts of crazy tests, but with what I'm using on there, I tested it at different voltage levels, and it's good. It's maybe zero point 0.1 volts off, plus or minus, depending on where you set it. And lots of people are waiting for the LavaTube 2.0. This is not the final version. This is the first version that was tuned to RMS, and I'm happy to say that this, for the most part, is spot on, plus or minus a little bit. And I'll be interested to see. Like right now, it's not regulated, so be interested to see if they regulate it in the final version. So we are being heard, and we can affect products.
Next week, Mike, let's do the Z-Max. Let's talk about, because I have one ordered.
Yeah.
So let's definitely add that. And there's some issues that I've heard of with the Z-Max, the new Z-Max, that I want to try to reproduce, and we'll try to reproduce them on the show to see if there's actually a problem there.
You'll have to share that with me after the show.
I will.
Yeah, definitely don't want to get into any kind of review on it, but I will tell you that I got the stainless steel version, and it is almost the same weight as the chrome version. So I don't know what's going on with that. I was expecting it to be heavier. But it's slowly trickling into the market. I think I got it from one of the first sites that had it. I went into a Skype and said, "Does anybody know where I can get this?" And they gave me a link. This thing should be out soon. I don't know when. Stop asking. So, I mean, the whole point is that, wow, in 2 months, we saw an outcry, and we were heard, and people have taken steps to get these devices right, and I think that it's good. I think that it's a good thing.
I agree.
So
I'm proud. I'm proud that this show played a part in it. Not to pat
Yeah.
ourselves on the back, but I'm when I wake up in the morning, I feel pretty good about that. Yes, Dell, it is Cole's fault, absolutely. Um, but we
and
got to play a part in it too, so that was good.
we do have to give a shout out to Cole over at Aussie Vapors, and I know we've all had numerous conversations with him. He's helped me so much, like learning how to use this scope that I bought. I got a Unity scope, which is the same one he has. He's taught me how to use it. He's got the newest version of the ECD meter on its way to me. Hopefully, I'll have it before next show. Yeah, so I mean, got to give a shout out to him because really, it was his thing, and he was talking about it for a long time. Nobody was listening,
Yeah.
and you know, finally, we all sort of came together and said, "Hey, maybe we didn't know what was going on with these things, and we got it fixed." So I think that it says a whole lot for our community, for the forums, for the people who are passionate about this.
What does Basil think?
I am in on a co-op for the new Z-Max, so I don't have any frame of reference. I've never really held one in my hand. I've seen them, so I'm going to be curious to see when I finally get around to getting one, if it works like it's supposed to work, and if it does, it's at the price I think we got them in the co-op was like $60.
When are you
That's a
getting
steal
yours?
if
Do you
it
know?
works. I think the co-op order just went in. I just paid Chaos on New Vapor today.
Okay.
So I think he closed it off today and order goes in. So it'd probably be another week or two, I would think.
Got it.
Depends on how fast the slow boat from China gets here, I suppose.
They'll ship DHL.
So
Most
let's,
likely, yeah.
oh yeah, DHL hit you in like 2 days, 2 3 days. Well, it depends on.
Depends on customs, yeah.
Yeah, but so I want to move on to the Bombshell, the device that got me through Sandy. Kaz, I know you've been using this for a while. You're the reason why I got this. Just like the
It's
Empire.
my fault.
Um, it is your fault. You are the
Terrible
reason.
influence.
I know. Are you saying that I have good vape taste?
You have good vape taste.
All right.
So w- we've been talking about this a lot in private. I think we hit on it a little bit at on one of the other shows. Maybe we didn't. I don't remember. Um, your thoughts?
Um, I mean, if you're looking for, boy, my thoughts on it. I had stayed away from purchasing the BAM for a while, and I still haven't purchased one. And part of the reason that I didn't is that if I was going to go to a big battery, big battery mod, I want to go 26,650, not the smaller one. What is it, 22,650? The smaller
20,
one that's in the
26,
BAM.
500.
Okay.
Hmm.
And I wasn't actually that enthusiastic about this thing when I got it. And now that I have it, I think it's fantastic. But for me anyway, it's a desk PV. I mean, when I go to Michigan, I take it with, but then it goes on my desk in Michigan. Um, and the reason that I like it is I don't have to shuffle batteries ever, ever. Every couple of nights, 2 or 3 nights, every 2 or 3 days, if I remember to put it on the charger on the second night or the third night, then I've got a charged e-cig for like 3 days. And
Yeah.
that I like. The kick compatibility is even better because I'm one of these people that says regulation is everything. I'm looking into the camera now. Regulation is everything. I do not believe, this is just for me, that the killer application in an e-cigarette is variable voltage, and I don't believe it's variable wattage. I think the thing that makes an e-cigarette work well is regulation, which means that you don't end up with battery fade. Like this is the venerable triple BV. It's a big piece of aluminum, right? And you stick an 18650 in this thing, and it vapes really well for half the charge, and then it drops down. So if like you're at 4.1 volts against a 3 ohm load, you're talking about 6.6 watts, something like that, 6.3 watts, which is my sweet spot. But halfway through the charge, at 3.5 volts, I'm looking at like 5 watts, and the loss of a watt is a
That's
lot.
perfect. And I've been saying that for a while too, that I can handle, Owen, who was here earlier in the chat, I don't know if he's still here, is working on a pipe that's going to be regulated. It's going to be regulated to 3.7 volts. I can make that work, but it's got to be regulated, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I on my Darwin, I usually vape at 11 to 12 watts, somewhere in there. Um, but I can sit down with something with the kick and vape at 10 watts because it's consistent. So I don't notice that 1 to 2 watt difference because the
yeah,
consistency for me is key.
yes,
That's the beauty of it.
exactly. And when you're talking about this unit here, it's got huge battery capacity. You throw a kick in it, it's regulated. That to me, it seems that the 510 socket is affixed pretty good because I beat the hell out of them because I'm pulling tanks on and off all the time. I like the button. It's simple. I It's a good PV. In my collection of PVs, the Provari is still king, but this is worthy because of battery capacity and its regulated nature, and it's a great desk PV. I mean, it's so big, it's hard to knock it over.
Here's my view. It's like when you were dating and you maybe met this girl and she wasn't the greatest looking, right?
Oh,
But everybody,
you would never date a woman that wasn't the greatest looking. I know you,
that's true.
and I've seen your girlfriend.
Yes. Yes. Let's not get into that. But she is attractive.
She
Um,
is.
thank you. So here's my view. Say it is a slightly unattractive. Okay, she's like attractive, but she's not like the best looking PV ever, right? And but it's like everybody always told you it's what's on the inside that counts. And with this PV, it's what is on the inside that counts. And what's on the inside is something that doesn't exist anywhere else, which is the 26650 battery kicked. And that's why I bought it. I told you over and over, Kaz, I have two shockwaves on the way. What do I need this for? And then at some point it clicked. Well, I need this so I can use a 26650 battery with the kick, because on the shockwave I can only use a 26500, right? And then they became two different devices to me. So it's like the not super attractive girl who has an awesome personality and is beautiful on the inside.
Yeah, Lord Devon is watching, and he said he's going to get a dual 26 650 since he likes bigger women. And by your standard,
Wowzers.
that would be a good way to go. Um, Mark, I won't repeat that on the show, but thank you for your comment. Uh, the chat's out of hand. Good thing that the chat doesn't end up with the show. Um,
Nope.
the thing that I would say, Mike, is I think you're right. I think it's a great PV. I know we've talked about it a little bit on the other show, and the only reason I want to bang this home hard is because you and I and Basil have a huge amount of vaping equipment, and the majority of it we don't use because it's wonky, it's funky, it doesn't whatever. You've found deal killing problems with it. This is not. This does not. This PV does not have a deal killer in my mind.
Yeah. I
It's
mean, even the button, which isn't super attractive, is nice to press.
yeah.
The look of it, it doesn't have anything special to look at, but the feel of it has sort of a waxy sort of finish to it. Would you agree?
Hmm.
It's it's smooth,
Smooth. I don't know. It's got
just
a weird sort of finish that
sort of
I haven't felt before.
sort of
And may-
smooth, and it's nice. Um, it's sort of uh yeah, I mean it's not like a satin finish. I don't know. It might even just I don't think it's painted. It looks like it's
It's anodized, I think.
anodized. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it reminds me of the black coating that was on the black triple V's from KVS, or the flat black coating that you might find on a silver bullet. Uh, which brings me back to the question is, if it's a silver bullet and it's black, is it still a silver bullet because it's not silver? But that's been bothering me for months. But
No,
don't
then
worry
it's
about
the
that.
BSB.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah, BSB.
Um, yeah, so I mean, it gets a thumbs up from me, and it gets used all the time. Surprisingly, my stainless steel telescope gets used all the time as well. Uh, I, you know, there's just stuff that works and stuff that doesn't, stuff that works and stuff that doesn't work. That's the way I look at it. If I grab it and it fires and I get my vape, then I'm pretty much happy with it. Then I can appreciate other stuff like the aesthetics. Oh, it's so nice.
I'm still on my first charge of the battery, and I used it for 4 days straight as the only electronic cigarette that I was using. Now you have to take into account that two of those days was during Sandy, and I vaped a decent amount during those 2 days. But then the rest of the other 2 days, I was at work, so for 8 hours, I maybe went out and vaped like three or four times.
Right.
So that's why it lasted me a little bit longer. But I imagine that a heavy vapor could get 2 days straight vaping like they normally do. Like chain vaping, you probably get 2 days out of the battery, day and a half, something like that. Uh, People vaping, at a normal pace, which what I think is a normal pace. I think you're gonna get like 3 days out of it. I mean, this is
Yeah, I
fantastic.
mean, I burn 1100 mAh of battery in a day. It's like I can get up in the morning and start vaping a fresh battery in my Shorty Pro Very, And at the end, when the battery dies, it's time to go to bed.
Yeah.
So it's a 3,500 mAh battery. There's probably 200 mAh left in it when 3 days are up. I've yet to empty it. I haven't emptied the battery. I've let it go 3 days and charged it, and that's it. So, and it's a it's he sells MNKE batteries with this, which are well known to be decent batteries, even in other form factories.
See, look, we got Brad here in the chat. He's on 4+ days with the kicked Stinger. I mean, I'm kicked. I'm at 8 watts, and I'm still going strong. I want to kill the battery so that I can charge it.
There you go.
You know, so I could see how long it takes to charge. But yeah, anyway, so I think that wraps up the show. I think we had a lot of cool stuff to talk about this show, and I want to thank our broadcast partners: TVN, VapeNet, Vapor Trails, eSig.tv. Our supporters: ECF, New Vapor. Now, also, we have our own sub forum on ECF and on New Vapor. I invite you guys to come and talk to us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Start threads. What do you want to see? How do you want to consume the show? You know, what are new things that you're looking for? We'll buy them. I will, list things that you're interested in that are coming out. We'll buy them. We'll talk about them. Anything that you're concerned with, bring it up, and we'll talk about it on the show.
Yep.
So I
got one piece of Vapelink business I have to get in here, though.
Oh, get it in.
All right, real quick. We are partnered with Vapor Trails, and they are donating stream capacity to us. However, due to the hurricane and the problems that Livestream is having because of data centers being down on the East Coast, we are waiting on that for probably at least 2 weeks before we switch over. That's it.
Sounds good. Lord Davin in the chat. I got mine too. We'll talk later. All right, guys. It's been a great show. Thanks for tuning in, and we will see you next Monday.
See you next week.
Bye, and be good.
Go vote tomorrow. Go vote.
Yeah,
if you're in the US,
go vote. And if you can't be good at it. Bye.
This is going to be a review of the SmokeTech telescope. I felt compelled to make a video now. I believe that there are safety issues with this. Let's get into the safety issues first. Vent through the threads here. I doubted that. That is airtight. Airtight. Nothing is venting. Final. End of story. I did it with a balloon.